It is my daughter's wedding anniversary dinner, a night meant for celebration. The dining room glows with soft candlelight, yet every flicker seems to sharpen the shadows rather than warm them. The long oak table, polished to a sheen, is covered with dishes too rich for my stomach these days. Roast duck, glazed carrots, and wine older than my grandson. Still, I sit at the far end, my chair subtly pushed back as if I'm already halfway out of the picture. Before me rests a simple folded napkin, but tucked inside I notice something unusual, a worn family photograph. I recognize it instantly, my late wife's handwriting scrawled on the back. Our first spring with her. My daughter was just 3 years old then, standing between us in a park full of tulips. The sight of it jolts me, for I never placed it there. Someone must have slipped it in, though no one admits to it. I glance at my daughter. She hasn't spoken to me properly in 3 years, not since I missed her graduation because of a heart episode that left me in a hospital bed. She carries that silence like a badge. Tonight her eyes avoid mine, lingering instead on her husband, who carves the duck with theatrical precision. My son-in-law raises his glass and says loudly, "To family," though some of us don't really contribute much anymore. Laughter erupts at the table except from me. The words pierce sharper than any knife, and I feel the room tilt slightly as if all chairs had edged away from mine. In that moment, I sense the stakes. This is more than a cruel joke. It is a declaration. I am being written out, erased before dessert has even arrived. My heart stutters, not from weakness this time, but from betrayal I never expected to taste at my own family's table. And yet I sit, silent fingers brushing the corner of the old photograph. A trace of my wife's handwriting seems to whisper, "Wait." Little do they know the past is not buried. It waits in drawers and maps in houses whose doors remain locked. Tonight's humiliation is only the beginning. And that was only the beginning. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. The laughter fades, but the silence that follows is worse. It stretches across the table like an invisible crack in glass, fragile yet unmissable. Forks clink against plates, glasses are raised, but no one dares to meet my eyes. I sit with my hands folded in my lap, listening to the sound of my own breathing, wondering if they hear the same echo of shame I do. My daughter clears her throat and leans closer to her husband, whispering something only he can hear. They exchange a glance, the kind shared by conspirators who know exactly what they've done. She doesn't defend me, she doesn't even flinch. That hurts more than his words. After all, a stranger can humiliate you, but only family can let the silence burn you alive. I study the faces around me. My grandson, barely 12, pushes food around his plate without lifting his head. He knows what was said, he knows it was wrong, but children learn quickly that silence is safer than loyalty. My brother, sitting near the end, coughs politely and mutters about the wine's taste, his attempt to erase what just happened. Even the chandelier above seems to buzz louder, as though the electricity itself wants to fill the void. I once read in a psychology journal that silence is its own language. Families who avoid direct conflict often punish each other with what is not said. It's a form of slow violence, they called it. I believe it now more than ever, sitting here drowning in their refusal to acknowledge me. A memory flashes. When I was a boy, my mother would say that silence was God's way of testing patience. But there is another kind of silence, the one I feel now, that tastes more like betrayal than divine lesson. I raise my glass, pretending to sip, though the wine barely touches my lips. The bitter silence presses heavier with every passing second, and I realize this is not just a single dinner humiliation. This is a pattern. They are easing me out of their lives little by little, silence by silence. But silence has its own way of speaking. After dinner ends, I retreat to the hallway, still holding the napkin with the folded photograph tucked inside. The guests' chatter fades behind me, leaving only the faint tick of the grandfather clock by the stairs. I smooth the photograph gently, as though my fingertips might brush against the past itself. It's the three of us, my wife, myself, and my daughter as a child, captured in a park surrounded by tulips. The paper has yellowed at the edges, but the handwriting on the back is unmistakable. My wife's graceful strokes spell our first spring with her. That curl in the letter H, I'd recognize it anywhere. Even now, a faint trace of her perfume lingers, lilacs and soap clinging to the fibers as though time refused to wash it away. But something troubles me. This photo has been missing for years. I searched for it once after her funeral, tearing through boxes in the attic. How has it found its way back into my pocket tonight of all nights? Who placed it there? I glance toward the dining room door. My daughter laughs at something her husband says, but her laughter feels rehearsed, brittle. My chest tightens. Could it be her A reminder meant to sting, or is it a message from someone else? In moments like these, I remember my late wife's habits. She believed photographs held energy, that they absorbed the mood of the day they were taken. Once she showed me a faded picture of her grandmother, insisting she could feel the sorrow trapped in it. I dismissed it as a superstition, but now staring at this photo, I wonder. The smiling faces look at me like guardians, as if trying to tell me something I've missed all these years. The silence of the hallway thickens. I slip the photograph back into my jacket close to my heart. My mind replays the insult from dinner, the way they laughed, the way nobody defended me. And suddenly, I understand the photograph isn't just a memory. It's a tether, a quiet reminder that my wife's presence hasn't left me completely. I press my palm over it, whispering under my breath, "Help me see what I can't yet see." But I soon realized that wasn't the worst of it. The next morning, sunlight pours through the curtains of my modest room, but it does little to warm me. I sit at the edge of the bed, the photograph resting on my nightstand. Its presence feels heavier than the wooden frame of the house around me. I can't stop staring at my wife's handwriting, those graceful strokes that time can't erase. It pulls me backward years into the past. I remember the long nights of raising my daughter alone while my wife worked late shifts at the hospital. I recall patching torn shoes with glue because money was short, cooking rice with nothing but soy sauce when she cried for something sweeter. For 20 years, every sacrifice carved me thinner, but I believed the distance between us would one day be bridged by gratitude. Instead, here I am, her eyes no longer meet mine. She speaks to me only in clipped sentences, as though I'm a guest overstaying my welcome. The gap between us is no longer silence. It is a canyon carved by neglect and pride. I pour myself tea, but my hand trembles and the liquid ripples in the cup. My doctor once warned me that stress could provoke another heart episode. I should avoid arguments, avoid dwelling on pain. But how do you avoid what sits at your own table, smiling beside the man who humiliates you? I remember a Korean folk saying my wife used to quote, "Even the deepest river can run dry if its source is forgotten." Looking at my daughter now, I wonder if she has forgotten the source, forgotten the hands that fed her when no one else would. The phone rings, suddenly startling me. It's my brother checking in after last night's dinner. His voice is low, cautious. "Don't take it to heart," he says. "He's young, arrogant. Your daughter will come around." I want to believe him, but I hear his hesitation, the way his words stumble. Even he knows the distance isn't temporary. It has been years in the making, and no polite call can mend what has already been severed. I set the phone down. The photograph catches the light again, the ink on the back glowing faintly in the sun. It feels like a signal, like my wife is still speaking across the years. Silence has its own way of speaking. The following weekend, I'm invited again, or rather expected to join them for Sunday dinner. I almost refuse, my chest still heavy from the last humiliation. But something inside me insists I must be present, if only to witness. To leave now would be to surrender completely. The dining room is dressed the same as before, polished cutlery glasses lined like soldiers' dishes, steaming with effort I no longer taste. I take my seat at the end, invisible in plain sight. My son-in-law, tall and sharp in his pressed shirt, makes conversation as though nothing happened. He talks about stocks, about new business ventures, his words punctuated by laughter too loud for the size of the room. My daughter beams beside him, nodding at every boast, her smile carefully aligned with his. Then casually, he turns to me. "Father." He says the words stretched like sarcasm. I suppose you wouldn't understand these things. After all, you've never owned anything worth more than this old suit, right? The room freezes. A few nervous chuckles ripple, but most lower their eyes to their plates. His words slice through me sharper than the carving knife in his hand. I feel the heat rise to my face, but my voice doesn't come. My daughter doesn't defend me. Instead, she lays her hand on his arm as though rewarding him for the cruelty. I can't decide which cuts deeper, his insult or her silence. I remember something I once read in a legal article, that humiliation is recognized in certain courts as a form of psychological violence. In that moment, I believe it, because the words don't just bruise, they linger, they scar. A childhood memory flickers me standing in line at a street vendor, mocked by wealthier boys for the patched clothes I wore. Back then, I clenched my fists, swore I would rise above them. Yet here I am, decades later, mocked again, this time by the man who married my daughter. I grip my fork, steadying my hand. The photograph in my pocket presses against my chest as though reminding me I'm not as powerless as they believe. I force a thin smile, though my throat is dry. If words can wound, then silence can sharpen them. I let him laugh. I let them think I'm small. because one day soon the laughter will turn. I thought I was safe, but I was wrong. That night, long after the plates are cleared and the wine bottles stand empty, I linger in the hallway. My son-in-law's laughter still echoes faintly from the living room where he and my daughter share another glass. Their voices lower when they think I'm out of earshot. Through the half-closed door, I glimpse something, his hand resting on hers, their eyes locking with an intensity that unsettles me. It isn't affection. It's calculation, as though they are partners in a scheme where love has little to do with it. I step back unseen. My chest tightens, not from my heart condition, but from the dawning realization last night's insults weren't careless jokes. They were deliberate, practiced. He wants me diminished, and she, my daughter, lets him. On the walk home, I replay every detail, the way her smile mirrored his, the way her silence held weight. 3 years of distance between us suddenly rearranged themselves into a pattern I hadn't noticed before. My suspicion grows this is not simply marriage influence. Something larger binds them together. I stop at the corner under a flickering street lamp. My hand drifts to my jacket pocket where the photograph rests. Its presence feels heavier now, as though it carries more than memory. My wife's handwriting. Our first spring with her echoes in my mind, almost as if she's warning me. Years ago, my wife once told me, "The cruelest betrayals don't arrive like storms. They seep in quietly like water under a door." Tonight I understand. What I saw in their glance was not just arrogance, it was alliance. I return home and sit in the quiet, listening to the ticking of the clock. Each second feels like a question. What are they hiding? Why now? Why me? A superstition from my childhood drifts into memory. Elders in my village used to say, "If you feel a shiver without reason, it means someone close is speaking ill of you." As the chill creeps down my back, I know someone isn't just speaking. They are planning. I don't have proof yet, only suspicion, but sometimes suspicion is enough to change everything. Silence has its own way of speaking. The following morning I rise earlier than usual. Sleep refused to visit me through the night, my mind tangled in questions. My jacket still hangs on the back of the chair. I slip my hand into the inner pocket, not for the photograph this time, but because something else clinks faintly inside. My fingers close around cold metal. I pull out a small brass key worn smooth with age. I freeze. I haven't seen this key in decades. My breath catches. How did it end up here? I turn it over under the morning light. The teeth are distinct, the bow slightly bent, and on its head, faintly engraved, is a tiny mark, my wife's initials. I remember it now. Years ago, she kept a drawer in her desk locked. I never asked why. She'd simply say, "Some things should wait until the right time." After her passing, I searched for the key but never found it. And here it is now, falling into my palm, as if the house itself finally coughed up its secret. The timing unsettles me. First the photograph, now the key, both tied to her, both appearing just when I'm humiliated and cornered. Coincidence, or something else? I sit down heavily, the key glinting on the table before me. My heart pounds not from weakness, but from the weight of memory. My doctor once explained how the body recalls grief in physical ways, tightness in the chest, sudden fatigue. Today, I feel that truth. Still, the key seems to hum with possibility. A locked drawer, a secret left waiting. My suspicion sharpens. Whatever lies inside could explain why my son-in-law seems so bold, why my daughter chooses silence, why betrayal now tastes deliberate. From a book on folklore I once read, I recall a saying, "Keys carry the soul of their keeper." At the time, I laughed it off, but now, staring at this little brass piece, I wonder if my wife foresaw this very moment. I close my fist around it, the edges pressing into my skin. Something is urging me forward. The drawer in her study waits. But I soon realized that wasn't the worst of it. That afternoon, I make my way to the old house where my wife and I once lived. It hasn't changed much since she passed. Dust gathers in corners, curtains hang faded, and the air smells faintly of cedar and mothballs. Each step I take echoes against memories too loud to ignore. Her study is just as I remember, a small wooden desk by the window shelves, crowded with medical journals from her nursing days, and a lamp still bent at an odd angle from when she knocked it over years ago. For a long moment, I simply stand at the threshold, gripping the key in my palm. My chest tightens, not from illness, but from the weight of standing at the edge of something she never meant for me to see until now. I kneel before the desk, running my hand along the familiar wood grain. The bottom drawer is the one, its small brass lock staring back at me like an eye that's been shut for too long. My hand trembles as I slide the key in. For a moment it resists, as though time itself doesn't want to turn. Then click. The The sound is louder than it should be, slicing through the silence of the room. I pull the drawer open slowly. Inside lies a stack of envelopes bound by a ribbon now frayed with age. Beneath them, an old leather notebook rests, its edges worn, its pages swollen from humidity. My throat goes dry. She had hidden something all along in this drawer I never dared to question. The envelopes are labeled in her handwriting. Some are addressed to me, others to our daughter, but there are also names I don't recognize. My fingers hesitate over the notebook, sensing its importance. A faint scent escapes as I open it, the same lavender oil she used to rub on her wrists at night. The first page carries only one line written in firm strokes. If you're reading this, then the time has come. I lean back in the chair, heart racing. Was this her plan to leave behind truths we weren't ready for while she was alive? From my village days, I recall a belief the dead leave doors half open for the living to finish walking through. Staring at this drawer, at these papers, I wonder if she left me not just memory but apathy. Yet I also notice something odd. The drawer isn't full. Its wood interior shows faint outlines where more items once sat, items now missing. Someone has been here before me. I thought I was safe, but I was wrong. The next evening, I return to my daughter's home. My mind is still reeling from the drawer, from the envelopes that should have been untouched but weren't. I haven't told anyone what I found, not yet. The secret feels fragile, like glass that could shatter if handled too carelessly. Dinner is quieter than usual. The laughter is thinner, the air heavier. My son-in-law drinks more than he eats, his eyes darting toward me now and then, measuring me. My daughter serves in silence, avoiding both our gazes. It's my grandson who breaks the stillness. He leans toward me, his voice barely a whisper. "Grandpa, don't go into the study again." His words freeze me mid-bite. I glance at him, but his eyes remain fixed on his plate fork, trembling slightly in his hand. A chill slides down my spine. How could he know? Unless someone saw me, or worse, they've already been watching. I clear my throat, feigning calm. "Why do you say that, son?" I ask softly, careful not to draw attention. He shrugs his small shoulders, rising and falling too quickly. "Just don't, please." His lips barely move, as if even the air might carry his secret to the wrong ears. I don't press further, but inside my thoughts churn. Children often overhear what adults believe is hidden. He must have caught whispers, perhaps arguments behind closed doors. Whatever he knows, it frightens him enough to risk warning me. When I glance across the table, I catch my son-in-law, staring, his smile thin and tight. My daughter places her hand over his, but her fingers fidget nervously. The warning wasn't random, it was necessary. I sit back, my appetite gone. A folk belief I once read flickers in memory. Children, they say, can sense danger more sharply than adults, their innocence acting like an antenna. Tonight, I believe it. I reach for my glass of water, my hand trembling just slightly. My grandson keeps his eyes down as though ashamed of what he's told me, but I want to reach across the table and squeeze his hand to let him know I heard him, that I will not ignore him. Instead, I keep still. Sometimes silence is the only way to protect a warning. But I soon realized that wasn't the worst of it. The night after my grandson's whisper, I cannot sleep. The warning repeats in my head like a bell, tolling in the distance. At dawn, I decide to return to the old study. Something compels me: the drawer, the envelopes, the empty spaces where documents once lay. The house greets me with silence. Dust still clings to the shelves, but the desk seems almost expectant, waiting for my hands. I sit and untie the faded ribbon around the stack of envelopes. The first is addressed in my wife's handwriting. The sight of her strokes nearly undoes me. Her script was always distinct, slanted, confident, with the peculiar curl in the letter Y she developed as a teenager. I trace my finger over the ink, half expecting to feel the warmth of her presence. I break the seal. Inside, a letter unfolds itself with words sharp as breath. If you are reading this, it means I could not tell you in life. Forgive me for secrets kept, but know they were for your protection. My chest tightens. Protection from what? From whom? The letter continues. There is property in your name, a house left untouched. I never told you because I feared what greed would do to those around us. If one day you feel cornered, if you sense betrayal, go there. It will be your shelter, your proof, your weapon. The paper trembles in my hands. Property. In my name. A house. A search my memory, but no such place exists in my recollection. Did she arrange it without my knowledge? At the bottom of the page, her handwriting grows hurried. Trust no one easily. Even love can be sharpened into a knife. I set the letter down slowly, my pulse racing. Outside, the wind rattles the window as though echoing her warning. From a psychology journal I once read, I recall the idea that handwriting carries unconscious signals of emotion. Curved letters reveal warmth. Sharp strokes suggest fear. Her final lines are jagged, rushed. She wrote them under pressure, perhaps even in fear. I glance again at the envelopes. More remain, but I cannot yet open them. My mind spins with one revelation already. Her voice lingers in the ink. Trust no one easily. I thought I was safe, but I was wrong. I sit for hours in that study, staring at the letter until the words blur. My wife's message burns in my chest, property in my name, hidden all these years. I should feel relief, maybe even triumph, but instead I feel the weight of secrecy pressing harder. If she kept this from me, what else lies in the shadows? I open a second envelope. It is shorter, addressed to our daughter. My hands shake as I read. My dear, I hope you never need to read this. But if you do, remember what is hidden is not yours to claim. Do not let others lead you astray. The ink stops abruptly, almost mid-thought. It's as though she had more to say, but time or circumstance cut her short. My throat tightens. A partial truth delivered like an unfinished puzzle. I'm left to piece together meaning from fragments. I place the letters side by side. To me, she entrusted knowledge of the property. To my daughter, only a warning. Why divide the truth? Why not share everything openly, unless she already feared what my daughter's loyalty might become once influenced by another? I lean back in the chair, closing my eyes. A strange memory surfaces. Years ago, my wife once said over tea, "We tell children only what they can bear. Too much truth at the wrong time can break them." Perhaps she was preparing for something she sensed would outlive her. I fold both letters carefully and tuck them into my jacket. The photograph rests there too, against my heart. Objects, words, traces, pieces of her still guiding me. A sudden creak breaks the stillness. My head snaps toward the hallway. The front door is ajar. Did I leave it that way? A draft rattles the curtain, and I realize my unease is not paranoia, it is instinct. Someone else knows about these letters. Someone else has already taken what was missing from that drawer. I close the drawer, lock it again, and slide the key into my pocket. Secrets are safer in silence, at least for now. But silence has its own way of speaking. The next morning, I make my way back to the old house, though every step feels heavier than the last. I've told no one where I'm going. It feels dangerous now, as though the walls themselves have ears. Still, I must return. The letters whisper in my pocket like restless ghosts, and I need to see if I missed something. The house greets me with its usual stillness. I slip inside, quietly closing the door with care, though I know no one should be here. The air is cool and carries the faint musk of old wood and lavender, my wife's favorite scent still clinging faintly in the corners. I pause in the study doorway, surveying every detail with suspicion. The curtain sways though the window is closed. The dust on the desk looks disturbed, smudged in places that weren't touched yesterday. My heart quickens. Someone else has indeed been here. I crouch by the drawer again, fitting the key into the lock. This time it resists longer, as if the tumblers have been worn by recent use. When it finally clicks open, I see what I dreaded. Another envelope is missing. Only 3 remain where there were 4. I sit slowly, staring at the emptiness. Who has taken it? My son-in-law. My daughter. The thought curdles in my stomach. If they know about the property, about the hidden house, then my humiliation at dinner was no accident. It was groundwork softening the ground before they try to take what isn't theirs. I open the remaining notebook, flipping through its yellowed pages. Medical terms, expenses, family notes, but near the back a scribbled line stands out. Documents at the house. Do not trust appearances. My pulse races. The house again. The hidden one. It's not imagination. It's real, recorded in her own hand. A noise startles me, a creak on the stair. I freeze, every muscle tense. Slowly, I rise, listening. The sound doesn't come again. Perhaps it was the house settling, or perhaps someone has already followed me. I tuck the notebook under my arm, close the drawer, and lock it once more. My hand shakes as I pocket the key. An old superstition from my childhood whispers in my mind, if you sense unseen footsteps behind you, don't look back. Looking back invites them closer. I keep my gaze forward as I leave, refusing to glance over my shoulder. The study feels colder than when I entered, as though secrets don't like being disturbed. I thought I was safe, but I was wrong. When I return the following day, I go with sharper eyes, no longer a grieving husband stumbling into memories, but a man searching for evidence. The key feels heavier in my pocket with every step toward the study. The room greets me with its usual dust, but it no longer feels untouched. I kneel by the desk and open the bottom drawer. The sight makes my stomach drop. Yesterday there were 3 envelopes. Today only 2 remain. The ribbon I'd left tied has been carefully loosened and retied almost perfectly, but not perfectly enough. I know my wife's precision. This knot is the work of another hand. I sit back in the chair, fury and dread battling in my chest. Someone is coming here in secret, someone who knows what to look for. The missing letters, the disturbed dust, the sound of creaking stairs, it all fits together now. I'm not imagining things. I search the drawer thoroughly. The faint outline of removed documents remains etched into the wood rectangular shadows where envelopes once rested. A few scraps cling to the bottom fragments of paper torn away in haste. On one piece I see only a partial word. Erty. My heart leaps. Property. They took the envelope that confirmed it. My hands tremble, but I force myself to think clearly. If the property details are gone, then whoever has them now also knows the truth that there is more than my modest life suggests. I recall a legal fact I once read: possession of a document doesn't equal ownership, but it can certainly muddy the waters in court. If my son-in-law holds these papers, he may already be plotting to twist the law to his side. Anger sharpens my grief. How dare they, my wife's final care, her attempt to protect me, stolen like a thief in the night. I slam the drawer shut and lock it. Rising from the chair, I feel the photograph press against my chest inside my jacket. My wife's smile in that tulip park looks back at me in memory, reminding me I'm not powerless. Still, the emptiness of that drawer gnaws at me. Someone close has crossed a line that cannot be uncrossed. Silence has its own way of speaking. The 2 remaining envelopes sit before me like fragile bones trembling under my fingers. I untie the ribbon again, this time with greater care, afraid that one wrong move might destroy what little is left. The first letter inside is addressed to no one. It's simply marked for discovery. Inside is a folded sheet of paper brittle with age. As I unfold it, a faint puff of dust escapes, carrying with it the scent of lavender oil. My wife's touch lingers even here. It isn't a letter, it's a map. My breath catches. The outline is hand-drawn, marked with landmarks I recognize from years past. The old elm tree by the river, the abandoned mill, the crooked road leading out of town. And then at the edge of the map, a small red X. Beside it, in my wife's sharp script, one word: house. My pulse pounds in my ears. She wasn't speaking in riddles. She left proof tangible and clear. There is a house tucked away where no one would think to look, tied to me in ways I still don't understand. I run my finger along the lines, tracing the path from memory. I haven't walked those roads in years, yet I can still see them in my mind. The mill has been abandoned since my youth, the elm tree struck by lightning when I was a teenager. No one goes there anymore. It is the perfect place to hide something in plain sight. But why hide it from me? Why lock it away only to reveal it after her death? I recall an obscure belief my grandmother once told me: a secret kept too long poisons the heart, but revealed too soon poisons the family. Perhaps my wife believed timing was everything. As I stare at the map, I hear again my grandson's whisper: "Don't go into the study again. Did he mean this?" Did he overhear his parents speaking of the house? My suspicion hardens. My son-in-law's arrogance, my daughter's silence. Suddenly their cruelty makes sense. They already know about this. They are waiting, circling, preparing. I fold the map carefully and tuck it inside my jacket with the letters and photograph. My wife's handwriting feels like an anchor against my chest. But a terrible thought claws its way into my mind. If the missing letters contained legal details, deeds, ownership papers, then I may not be the only one holding part of the truth. And that was only the beginning. 2 days later, I set out early in the morning, the folded map pressed tightly in my pocket. The streets are quiet, the kind of quiet only broken by birdsong and the occasional bark of a stray dog. My heart pounds with each step, not from my age or frailty, but from anticipation. The road out of town is long, winding past fields that have grown wild. I haven't walked this way in decades, yet everything feels hauntingly familiar. The elm tree my wife marked on the map no longer stands. Only a jagged stump remains blackened by the lightning strike of years past. I pause there, resting my hand on the weathered wood. Even in its ruin, it feels like a marker pointing me forward. I continue down the crooked road until the shape of an old mill appears in the distance. Its roof is half collapsed, its windows like hollow eyes staring into nothing. Just beyond it, where the map's lines converge, I see it, a small 2-story house hidden behind overgrown trees and vines. For a moment I can't breathe. It feels like stepping into a memory I never had, a secret world my wife built in silence. The front gate creaks when I push it open, the sound sharp in the still air. The yard is wild with weeds, but the structure itself stands solid, untouched by time. I pull the key from my pocket, half expecting it to resist, But when I slip it into the lock, it turns smoothly as if the house has been waiting for me all along. Inside, the air is cool and dry, carrying the faint scent of cedar. Dust blankets the furniture, yet everything is intact. Chairs neatly arranged, curtains drawn tight, dishes stacked in cupboards. It feels less like abandonment and more like preservation, as though someone left one day intending to return. My chest aches with a strange mix of grief and wonder. She kept this from me all those years. A whole house hidden away. Why? For protection, as her letter said. From whom? On the mantel above the fireplace rests another envelope. My hands tremble as I reach for it. My wife's handwriting again steady and deliberate. This is yours. I open it carefully. Inside are records, bank slips, savings documents, deeds, all in my name. Proof that this place, this hidden house, belongs to me. My vision blurs as tears sting my eyes. She protected me in silence, knowing one day I would need this shield. Yet beneath the awe, unease stirs. If I could find this place with the map, so could anyone who possesses the missing documents. My son-in-law, my daughter. I close the envelope, clutching it tightly. The house may be mine, but the battle for it has already begun. But I soon realized that wasn't the worst of it. I spend hours walking through the hidden house, each room heavy with silence and dust. Yet the deeper I move inside, the more it feels less like abandonment and more like intention. My wife did not simply hide this place, she preserved it. In the back room behind a tall wardrobe, I notice something peculiar. The floorboard near the corner is slightly raised, not flush with the others. My pulse quickens as I crouch down. With effort, I pry it open. Beneath lies a small wooden box wrapped in cloth that has yellowed with age. I lift it out carefully, my hands trembling. Inside are stacks of documents neatly folded, sealed in plastic sleeves. Property records, savings account ledgers, investment certificates, all in my name. Each page carries dates stretching back more than 20 years. She had been quietly saving, investing, building something I never knew existed. I sink into the nearest chair, the box heavy on my lap. My chest tightens, but not with fear this time, with awe. I had always thought we scraped by just barely enough to feed ourselves and pay bills. Yet here lies proof of her secret diligence, her determination to secure something greater. Still, questions coil around me like smoke. Why didn't she tell me? Why endure hardship together if she had this cushion hidden? Was it fear of what others might do, as her letter suggested, or did she not trust even me with the full truth? Among the papers, I find a folded receipt from a bank I don't recognize. Foreign from years ago. My mind races. Was she sending money abroad? Hiding wealth where no one would look? A memory stirs one night long ago when she returned late, smelling faintly of train smoke. I'd asked where she'd been, and she only smiled tiredly, saying she'd run errands. Could that night have been one of these secret journeys? The weight of her choices presses against me. She carried this burden alone while I thought we struggled together. I feel pride for her foresight, yet also betrayal for the secrecy. From a history book I once read, I recall a passage, "Families are not destroyed by what they lack, but by what is hidden within them." Tonight, those words claw at me. As I close the box, the silence of the house deepens. I realize something chilling. If I found this, then whoever took the missing letters likely knows where to search as well. I tuck the box back beneath the floorboards and cover it again. My hands are steady now. I will not let them take what she left for me. Silence has its own way of speaking. 2 nights after discovering the box beneath the floorboards, I sit in my daughter's living room pretending to watch the evening news. My grandson is on the carpet with his toys, my daughter in the kitchen preparing tea. My son-in-law steps into the hallway, phone pressed against his ear, his voice lowered but sharp enough for me to catch fragments. I mute the television with a trembling thumb. His words slip through the half-open door. "Yes, I have the documents. No, he doesn't know yet. Quiet for now. When the time comes, we'll act." My chest tightens. I lean forward, straining to hear. "Property. Worth more than I expected. Transfer it before he realizes." She won't oppose me. The blood drains from my face. He has them, the missing envelopes, the legal papers my wife left behind. He's already plotting to strip me of what she entrusted to me. I glance at my grandson. He's humming softly, lost in his game, unaware that the future of our family is being decided in the next room. My hands clench on the armrest until my knuckles ache. I rise slowly, moving closer to the hallway. His back is to me, his tone calm but laced with greed. "Don't worry. The old man is too weak to fight. By the time he figures it out, everything will be in my name." A wave of heat surges through me, anger, grief, humiliation all at once. Yet I do not step forward. I know better than to reveal my hand now. If I confront him without proof, he'll twist it, and my daughter will side with him as always. I retreat silently, my pulse pounding. Back in my chair, I force myself to breathe evenly to feign indifference. My daughter sets a cup of tea before me, her smile weary but practiced. I wonder, does she know? Is she complicit or merely blind? The steam rises from the cup, curling like a question I cannot answer. I sip, though the taste turns bitter on my tongue. From a psychology article I once read, I recall the concept of gaslighting, how manipulators twist reality until their victims doubt their own perception. I realize now my son-in-law has been doing this for years, using my age, my silence, my heart condition as tools to weaken me. But the phone call confirms what I needed. He is not just arrogant, he is dangerous. I place the cup down carefully, hands steady. My wife's photograph in my pocket presses against my chest, a reminder that she left me more than memories. She left me weapons, and one day soon I will use them. But I soon realized that wasn't the worst of it. The next evening, tension simmers before dinner even begins. I can feel it in the air, in the clipped way my daughter sets down the dishes, in the way my son-in-law avoids my gaze, yet smirks under his breath. I decide I can't let the silence stretch any longer. After the plates are filled and the first bites taken, I set down my fork deliberately. The sound of metal against china rings sharper than intended. I heard you yesterday, I say evenly, though my voice trembles at the edges, on the phone, talking about documents, about transferring something that isn't yours. The fork slips from my daughter's hand. She freezes, her eyes darting to her husband. My son-in-law leans back in his chair, crossing his arms, his smirk widening. Eavesdropping now, are we? He replies smoothly. You must have misheard. Age does that to the ears. Anger burns through me. Don't mock me. You think because I'm old and my heart is weak, I can't tell when someone is plotting against me? My wife left things in my name. You've stolen her papers. My daughter shakes her head, her voice rising. Stop it, Dad. You're imagining things again. You're letting grief cloud your mind. Why would he steal from you? He takes care of this family. Her defense cuts deeper than any insult. I turn to her, my eyes stinging. I raised you alone when your mother worked nights. I sold my watch to pay your school fees, and now you believe him over me. She lowers her gaze, guilt flickering across her face, but she doesn't speak. My son-in-law takes the silence as his victory. He leans forward, voice low and venomous. Listen carefully, old man. You're weak, you're alone. Whatever scraps you think you own, I'll manage them better. So sit quietly or risk losing more than your pride. The table goes still. Even my grandson stops chewing, his wide eyes flicking between us. For a moment my chest seizes. I half expect my heart to betray me right here, but I steady my breath, forcing calm. I remember something I once read in a medical journal. Stress can be a silent killer, but it can also sharpen focus in moments of survival. Tonight I choose the latter. I meet my son-in-law's gaze. You may think I am powerless, I whisper, but silence is not weakness. And when the truth surfaces, you'll wish you'd never underestimated me. The room vibrates with unspoken words. My daughter bites her lip, torn between loyalty and doubt. My son-in-law's smirk falters just slightly enough for me to know he heard me clearly. Silence has its own way of speaking. Word travels quickly in families, faster than wind across dry leaves. Within days, I sense the shift. Neighbors glance at me with pity when I walk past. My brother avoids eye contact during our weekly market visit. Even the pastor at church lingers too long on the sermon about the pride of old men who cannot let go. Rumors have taken root. My son-in-law has been planting them carefully like weeds in fertile soil. The whispers say I'm unstable, senile, clinging to fantasies about wealth that doesn't exist. My daughter's silence allows the story to grow unchecked. At the grocery store, a woman I've known for years approaches me, her smile brittle. Don't worry, she says gently, as though speaking to a child. Sometimes age plays tricks. Your son-in-law is a good man, he'll handle things. I nod politely, but inside anger boils. My wife's map burns against my chest, in my pocket, a reminder that truth exists even if unseen. Yet the more they spread lies, the harder it will be to prove my side when the moment comes. At home, I sit in the dim light of my study, surrounded by silence. I pull out the notebook my wife left and reread her words. Do not trust appearances. She must have known this storm would come, that people would believe the smooth-tongued over the quiet man. A memory stirs of an old folk tale she once told me. In it, a farmer warns of a flood, but his neighbors laugh and call him mad. When the waters finally rise, it is too late for them to escape. She told me then, the truth often looks like madness until the storm breaks. Now I feel the storm gathering around me, rumors, whispers, doubts, each one designed to weaken me before the confrontation arrives. I light a candle, letting the flames steady my thoughts. My wife's photograph leans against the base of the lamp, her smile fixed in eternal spring. I whisper to her, "They think I'm beaten, but you knew better, didn't you?" Outside, thunder rumbles low as if the sky itself agrees. But I soon realize that wasn't the worst of it. By the end of that week, I know I cannot stand alone against rumor and manipulation. Words are fragile, easily twisted. What I need is proof, something undeniable. So I pay a quiet visit to my lawyer, Mr. Hahn, a man who has known me since my working days. His office smells of paper and ink, the shelves lined with files that sag under the weight of other people's secrets. He peers at me over his glasses, concern etched into the lines of his face. "You look tired," he says. "What's troubling you?" I slide the folded map across his desk along with the envelope of documents I found in the hidden house. His eyes sharpen as he unfolds them, reading carefully. Minutes pass in silence, broken only by the scratch of his pen as he takes notes. Finally, he looks up. "These are authentic. Property records, savings ledgers, even the deed, all in your name. Your wife was careful. She ensured everything was legally bound to you alone." Relief floods me, though it is quickly followed by dread. But what if someone else has the missing documents, I ask? Letters, maybe even copies. He leans back, tapping his pen against his chin. Possession of papers isn't ownership. What matters is registration. This house, this land, these accounts, they're legally yours. Unless you sign them over, no one can touch them. I exhale slowly, but doubt lingers. And if someone tries, his voice hardens. Then they expose themselves. We can challenge it in court. But for now, I suggest you hold these documents close. Do not let anyone know you came to me. I nod, clutching the file as he slides it back toward me. My wife's foresight has given me armor, but armor still needs to be wielded at the right moment. As I leave, Mr. Hahn lowers his voice. "One more thing. Secrets like these don't stay quiet forever. If your son-in-law already suspects, he'll push harder. Be ready." Walking home, I think of an article I once read about storms, how pressure builds unseen in the air before lightning strikes. That's what this feels like. Pressure tightening, clouds gathering ready to split open. I tuck the lawyer's file beneath my arm, the weight both comfort and warning. My son-in-law may think he's clever, but now I carry proof papers stronger than rumor ink, sharper than insult. Still, I cannot shake the image of him on the phone, boasting that I am too weak to fight. He doesn't know yet what I hold. And when the time comes, his face will pale. Silence has its own way of speaking. It happens on a Saturday evening, another family dinner my daughter insists upon. Perhaps she believes ritual will mask the fractures in our home, but tonight feels different. The tension is thick before we even sit. My son-in-law pours himself a glass of wine, his smirk barely hidden. The table is full, my brother, a few cousins, even neighbors invited to give the evening the appearance of harmony. But harmony is the last thing in the room. I feel the weight of the lawyer's file inside my coat pocket, the papers pressing against me like a heartbeat. Halfway through the meal, my son-in-law raises his glass and clears his throat. To family, he says smoothly, and to the future. A future where responsibility passes into capable hands. His eyes flick to me, and a ripple of laughter follows from those who don't understand the hidden meaning. I set down my fork, my hand steady. "Yes," I reply, my voice carrying farther than expected to the future, but not all futures belong to thieves. The room stills. Forks freeze mid-air. My daughter stiffens. My son-in-law's smile falters, but only slightly. "Careful with your words, old man," he says softly, venom laced in his tone. I pull the envelope from my coat and lay it on the table. The papers spill across the linen deeds, records, proofs, stamped with official seals. Gasps circle the table as eyes scan the documents. This house, this land, these accounts, I say clearly, are mine. My wife secured them in my name. And no one will take them from me. My daughter's hand flies to her mouth. My brother leans forward, eyes wide, reading the seals. The neighbors whisper among themselves, their expressions shifting like tides. My son-in-law's face drains of color. For the first time, the mask slips. "Where did you—" He stops himself. But the unfinished sentence betrays him. He knew. He has seen these documents before. I lean closer, my voice low but sharp. "You thought I was blind. You thought silence was weakness, but silence has its own way of waiting." The air crackles with unspoken words. My daughter's gaze flicks between us, confusion and shame warring in her eyes. My grandson stares openly now, no longer pretending not to see. For a long moment, no one moves. The only sound is the ticking of the wall clock, counting down to something irreversible. And then, like thunder, my son-in-law slams his hand against the table. Plates rattle, glasses spill, but his eyes betray fear. But I soon realized that wasn't the worst of it. The silence that follows my revelation feels almost sacred. My son-in-law's hand hovers over the table, frozen mid-air. His usual arrogance has evaporated, replaced by a thin layer of panic I have never seen before. I watch him closely, noting every twitch, every micro-expression. His face pales, the color draining like water from a stone. The arrogance, the smirk, the condescension, it's all gone. In its place is fear, sharp and unmistakable. My daughter clutches her husband's arm, whispering something quickly, but the words cannot mask the truth in his eyes. He underestimated me. He thought my silence was weakness. He didn't account for the hidden house, the lawyer's file, the decades of careful preparation my wife had built into my hands. A small gasp escapes from one of the neighbors. Even the cousins who had laughed at my supposed incompetence shift in their seats. The room is alive with tension, every breath like static electricity. I lean forward slightly, keeping my voice low but deliberate. You thought you could steal what was never yours. You thought I wouldn't notice. But every document, every proof, every piece of my wife's planning has found me. And now you see it, don't you? His lips part slightly, but no words come. He looks from the table to the envelopes, then back to my face. It's as though comprehension itself has frozen him. In that moment, I recall something my wife once told me: when the truth is revealed, even the boldest man will shrink. I watch the prophecy unfold. My daughter's eyes finally meet mine. There is regret, yes, but also realization. She sees now that I was never powerless. She sees what I have carried quietly for years. My grandson, wide-eyed and silent, finally whispers, "Grandpa, you did it." Yes, I did it, but this is only the beginning of the reckoning. Silence has its own way of speaking. The storm breaks, but not in the way anyone expected. My son-in-law sits frozen at the table, the color slowly returning to his face, but the arrogance never does. He knows the game has changed, that the balance of power is no longer in his hands. My daughter finally speaks, her voice trembling. I didn't know, Dad. I didn't realize how much you'd done, how much she had left for us. For you. Tears well in her eyes as she glances at the envelope spread across the table. For years, she believed the world was shaped by the men around her. Now she sees differently. Neighbors whisper, exchanging glances, realizing the truth behind the family facade. My brother shakes his head in disbelief, muttering, "I should have known." Even my grandson, sitting quietly, understands more than words could convey. I lean back, feeling the weight of the past weeks lift slightly. The humiliation, the whispers, the sneers, they are replaced by acknowledgement. Not applause, not celebration, but recognition. It is enough. Outside, the wind rustles through the trees, carrying with it a sense of cleansing. Inside, my wife's photograph watches silently, her smile unwavering, as if she knew this day would come. I glance at my son-in-law. His lips press into a thin line. No apology, no words, just acknowledgement. The lesson is learned. Underestimating me was his greatest mistake. For a moment, the house seems to breathe with me. Every creak of the floorboards, every whisper of air through the curtains feels like her presence. My wife left more than a house, more than documents. She left foresight, patience, and justice quietly waiting. And yet, even in this fragile victory, I know the story isn't over. The storm may have broken, but the ripples will continue to spread through our family, changing loyalties, revealing true colors, testing bonds that seemed unbreakable. But I soon realized that wasn't the worst of it. The house is quiet again finally. The envelopes are secured, the hidden house remains mine, and the storm of lies has settled into echoes. I sit by the fireplace, the soft glow warming my hands and face, and I allow myself to breathe fully for the first time in weeks. I think of my wife, whose foresight and care guided me silently through every step of this ordeal. She hid nothing out of malice, only protection. The house, the documents, the careful records, they were her final gift. A shield she entrusted to me alone, and I have carried it well. My daughter sits beside me now, her hands clasped in hers, her eyes searching mine for understanding. There is regret there, yes, but also new respect. She finally sees me not as a powerless father, but as a man who quietly bore the weight of betrayal and injustice and triumphed. Outside, the sun begins to set, casting long golden shadows across the room. My grandson plays quietly in the corner, unaware of the intricate battles that have unfolded, yet somehow sensing the shift in the family's energy. Children see what adults try to hide, and perhaps he understands the lesson better than anyone. I reflect on betrayal, on silence, on hidden truths, and the quiet strength it takes to endure them. I understand now that justice does not always roar. Sometimes it arrives in whispers and patience, in the careful orchestration of truth over time. My son-in-law has learned his lesson, though no words are exchanged. He knows I am not to be underestimated. And my daughter, now awake to the reality of the man I am, may yet protect what is rightfully mine alongside me. As I lean back in the chair, I feel a sense of closure, not only for myself, but for my family. Betrayal can fracture hearts, but revelation can heal them. My wife's final gift was not just property, it was foresight, it was justice, it was a test of loyalty and courage. The evening stretches on soft and peaceful. The house, once silent with secrets, now hums quietly with life. I smile faintly, remembering her words, "Trust no one easily. Even love can be sharpened into a knife." And yet I am ready now, ready to face whatever comes next, fortified by the hidden strength she left behind. Thank you for staying with me through this story. If it touched you, please subscribe and continue with the next story in the playlist.